So on the debut edition of The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, make sure to go check that out over at the Daily Faceoff YouTube page and wherever you get your podcasts. Merrick floated the name Nazem Kadri, who we're all very, very familiar with now with the Calgary Flames. Still has term and money remaining on his contract. But can we see, like, what's the potential of a reunion? Because obviously there's been names thrown out there the last little while. It's quite clear the Leafs are probably going to look to add up the middle. But I think Kadri's a really interesting name at this point in his career.
Yeah, and, he was available in the summer around the draft. Calgary made him available. Now he's got a full no move, so obviously he's got a say in where he could potentially end up. But that was then. Now they're in the thick of things in the Pacific Division. I don't know how readily available Nas would be right now. My sense at the draft and around the draft in late June and early July afterwards was that he would be open to a return here. He'd be open to a return in Colorado, and if not here or the Avs, then somewhere close to here, close to home. So, and I don't think Detroit's in the mix, for this type of player. The only thing I look at with respect to Nas is that contract. $7 million cap hit isn't what scares me. It's the term that's left on it. Signed through, I think, 28, 29, something like that, or right around there. So I would look at that as a bit of a barrier, depending on price, because Calgary's not going to retain on that player for that amount of time. It's an interesting name. It's an interesting potential. I think a lot of what Calgary's going to end up doing, not just with Nas, but with Rasmus Andersson, and who's got another year on his deal from a defenseman. Kuzmenko is a UFA at the end of the season. They've got a few other guys they could potentially play with. I think they're just going to wait to see how their season unfolds. Is this going to be Philly from last year, where they exceeded expectations and then came back down to earth and then started to sell off? Or can they stay steady, and probably with Vancouver and Edmonton behind them, can they stay steady in a wild card spot this season? And that'll, I think, dictate what they're going to end up doing and what Craig Conroy does. But with respect to Nas, if I'm Toronto, I would look at it, but my hesitancy would be the amount of term left on that deal.
I agree with you. I think this is more a situation where it looks good on paper than actually making sense financially. He's got 4 years left, $28 million, a $7 million cap hit. Like, naturally, when I heard this story come out, and obviously, Merrick, as credentials as anybody in this industry, puts that out, it makes a lot of sense. Pretty much just speculating that, it would make a lot of sense for the Leafs to circle in on this type of name. How would it even fit trade-wise is my question, because the Leafs are so close to the cap. You got to trade guys out. I don't think the Flames are taking Yarncroke back. I don't even know where it would start with the conversation. How much heavy lifting the Leafs would have to do to even get this guy in the lineup,
Right. You're going to need some type of retention from somewhere. And because of the term, even if you're – and because of the term, you're probably paying a first-round pick, which the Leafs don't have this year. Can you push it to 27? Like, give yourself some breathing room. I don't know how interested a team would be. Financially, I'm sure they could figure out a way. But again, it's term. That's the bigger issue for me, is just how many more years are on that contract, because he's 34. Is with 4 or 5 years left on that deal is who knows? In 5 years, maybe a third line player, a third line center is making $7 million. But I think the fit is there in a sense that he would waive, my understanding anyway, is he would waive to go back to Toronto. And I think maybe that's, part of, Jeff's reasoning as well. And because he was available in the summer. So, obviously we'll see, but you're right. Financially, cap-wise right now, it's going to take a lot of juggling. And, if Yarncroke's done for the season, and I'm not suggesting he is, I'm just trying to think of different possibilities here. Yeah, it frees you 2.1 that you can go over the cap with, but you still have $5 million you got to clear. It's not easy to do. So I think Toronto would be better focused this year on going a rental route and going in a direction of, an expiring contract, and try to vulture in on some teams that are struggling.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Roseau. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.